Hello, Libertarian Party of Arkansas. Thanks so much for having me via video. I wish I could have been there in person, but I'm in California at my own state convention. So for those of you who don't know me, I chair the Libertarian Party of Los Angeles County, and I'm on the executive committee of the Libertarian Party of California. And boy, have we been busy in the last year fighting against government encroachment. I know you aren't troubled as much by lockdowns, but I want to remind you to stay extra vigilant. California is the canary in the coal mine, and you should be on guard against the same kind of encroachment taking place in your state. I want to talk to you a little bit about lockdowns and messaging and explain what it means specifically for the Libertarian Party of Arkansas. So stay with me while we go through all of this. Let's talk a little bit about what happened last year in the country, just in general. I think that the last year or so is a better example than anything else in our lifetimes of what kind of horror is unleashed upon the world when society abandons the precious values of freedom and the pursuit of truth. People across the country lost their jobs, their family businesses, their savings, children's college funds, alcoholism and domestic violence rates soared, civil liberties all but disappeared. As a Californian, I watched the world implode around me. People stuck their heads in the sand like a bunch of ostriches and willfully refused to see the truth. And the truth was that government lockdowns, business closures, and emergency orders did much more harm than good. I know a lot of us were shocked. I'm sure everybody in Arkansas was too. You're just wondering, how can this happen in our lifetime? Aren't we still at least 100 years away from this kind of Orwellian dystopian nightmare? But the signs have been all around us. We just failed to see the writing on the wall. A society that rejects the truth and embraces the lies of collectivism and victim culture always teeters on the precipice of disaster. There was a lot of suffering last year because people were afraid to tell the truth. Political agendas got in the way, and then lies and deception, cover up for mistakes, incompetence. It seemed like truth came in the very last place. Arkansas was one of the few states that withstood some of the worst assaults on our civil liberties. So you definitely have that going for you. You didn't have a lockdown like California or New York, but you did have some school closures, mask mandates, business capacity reductions. I believe I remember your governor urged people to stay home for the holidays, and I'm sure most of you didn't do that. Did life carry on normally? Maybe more so for the people of Arkansas than the people of California. But has anything really been normal anywhere in the last year? What is normal? Can we do better than normal? Governor Hutchinson said, "I applaud New Jersey and New York. They've had to really lock down." Your governor didn't even have the courage to speak out in favor of his own values. Why are our leaders so afraid to speak the truth? Why are some of us, libertarians included, so ashamed of the truth, ashamed of our values and what we believe? What is the truth? Well, lockdowns hurt people. Government mask mandates are wrong. The drug war does more harm than good. Gun control doesn't save lives. Freedom is more precious than security. Every person on this planet is a unique individual and should have the power to govern his or her life in a peaceful manner. Our philosophy of liberty is the truth. That's the truth. Libertarians believe that all people have the unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the first line in your party's platform, and it's the damn truth. So what happens to us as a culture, a state, a nation, when people just refuse to tell the truth? People are hurt, rights are violated, we wander off course, and we end up in exile, separated from our guiding principles. We are so far from our roots right now and what this country was founded on. There are many in our ranks who are afraid to speak out about libertarian principles. They're afraid it will alienate a population that already has a flagrant disregard and contempt for our rights. They're afraid that people who hate us, who call us terrorists, who want us on house arrest, who want to subject us to mandatory medical procedures. They're afraid they may not like us if we speak the truth. I think the people of Arkansas are ripe for the message of freedom. And I think your party is the perfect vehicle for that message. And I think your time is now. So why do we have trouble telling the truth? Why is this something that has been such a struggle for us? It takes courage to tell the truth. It takes courage to go to a group of Republicans and tell them that the drug war is destroying lives, that it doesn't represent family values. It takes courage to tell people that US foreign policy doesn't keep us safe. It takes courage to confront the people who disagree with you and who lord their authority over you, especially when you feel so disconnected from them because they're not your political party and they don't have your same values. So what is the function of telling the truth in the current political atmosphere where there's so much fighting and inconsistency and conflict? Sometimes we get discouraged. We get exhausted spinning the hamster wheel for ballot access, trying to make headway with disinterested legislators from different political parties. Why bother preaching the truth to a group of people that have so utterly rejected it? Well, let's go back in time, in the history books, or the myths, however you want to think of it, to the story of Isaiah's job. In the Old Testament, God tells the prophet Isaiah to go out and tell the people around him what was wrong and what was going to happen to them unless they changed their ways, because they were wicked. And God told Isaiah, by the way, when you go out, the people that you preach to, they're not going to listen to you. They'll ignore you and they'll hate you and they'll comfort you. And Isaiah, he kind of balked at that idea and asked God, well, what's the point of preaching to people who are going to ridicule me and attack me? And God said, oh, you don't seem to get it. You're going to go out and you're going to preach to the masses, but there's a remnant out there that you don't know. And they're obscure and they're scattered and they're barely hanging on. And they need you to encourage them and to gather them together and to keep them going. Because when all of society goes to hell and everything finally burns down, they're the ones who are going to rebuild. So go out there and find that remnant and build them up. And I think that that's what the Arkansas Party can do right now. I think that states like Arkansas that have resisted lockdowns, that have not given into all of these pressures, I think you're ripe to go out and find the remnant and build the liberty movement. Don't give up on people and don't give up on the message of truth. Hold on to that precious, precious value of liberty. Because what are the consequences of lies? Our country elected a president and vice president who ran an entire campaign based upon lies. They lied about their border policies. They skipped right over the fact that they're both architects of the drug war. They used and abused the Black Lives Matter movement. They virtue signaled their way all the way to the top, feeding a reactionary, frightened, and blind population whatever dribble, whatever bread and circuses they could make up. Corn Pop, Bob Marley, woke talking points from the political class. It was absurd. And the people of Arkansas didn't really seem to buy into it. So I think you've got fertile ground to grow your message of freedom. It's time for radical truth in this country. Libertarians need to be those truth bearers. We should uphold the truth like a torch in the darkness. So how do you reconcile the truth with a culture of fear? Because we are definitely living in a fear-based culture. Well, it's my belief that the truth will set you free. Truth burns off all the lies and the fear. It strips you of all of the extraneous excuses you've made up that allow you to live a compartmentalized, inconsistent life. It's like a refiner's fire, and it can feel painful to feel your old worldview burn off and watch the ashes blow away in the wind. But that truth will also build you up. It will strengthen you. It's your armor and your shield. Living a life that's committed to the truth of liberty will help you become courageous. What a beautiful philosophy. Value freedom and truth over slavery and lies, to uphold personal sovereignty and the sanctity of the individual. This is our truth as libertarians. So gird yourself in these principles and let the truth set you free. Where does the truth fit into the party of principle? Well, we need truth in our message. Telling the truth is a courageous act. You may be concerned it's unpopular, but I think you'd be shocked by the support that you'll get when you reach out boldly and you tell the truth to people. I know you're fighting for ballot access in Arkansas. I believe being the champions of truth will go a long way in that fight. Having the boldness and courage to speak out about the value of freedom will help you to form alliances and issue coalitions with other passionate people. People who want to end the drug war in Arkansas, who want to decriminalize cannabis. I believe a strong message of freedom will grow your membership and your volunteer base. I also believe candidates who speak out boldly will help to grow your party and help to bring freedom to your beautiful state. Let the truth and beauty of our principles be your foundation. So let's sort of bring this full circle. Let's shift gears for a minute and talk about how to get legislation passed. How do you take that message of truth and use it to set people free in Arkansas? I know it feels like such an uphill battle trying to awkwardly inject yourself into the political process, but it can be done. In California, we passed a bill limiting civil asset forfeiture a few years ago, and it only took a couple dozen people to call into their representatives and encourage them to vote on the bill. I think it took about a year. You form relationships with your state representatives. They might be more receptive than you think. It can be done, and they are pretty accessible. You can also draft legislation too, and you can just pass it on to them. It sounds challenging, but most legislation is just copy pasted from other bills with little edits here and there. And plenty of good libertarian bills that are passed are just straight repeals, strikeouts of previous bills and chunks of text within bills. You just strike it out and you pass it on to them and you get them to vote on it. I know you have a small infrastructure right now and you're in the process of building up, and I hear you're building up pretty quickly, but I think you can do this. And I think it will help to grow your political capital in the state. There are also members of the California Libertarian Party that can help you, and there are members in the state of Maine that can help. We just need to network and help each other out, and that's what state parties should be doing anyway. The more headway you make, the more enthusiasm you'll generate, and the more people will want to join you. So wake up that remnant, right? Draw them to your side and get them fighting for freedom alongside you. I believe Arkansas is poised to be one of the boldest vehicles for liberty in this country, especially with the way things are going in the rest of the country. If you speak the truth, if you continue to grow and organize, you'll become a powerhouse for freedom. I want to help you achieve that. I wish you the very best as you build your organization and your movement, as you go out boldly and speak the truth, as you really take charge of that messaging and bring the message of freedom to the people of Arkansas. Reach out to me for anything you need, for help with drafting legislation, training on how to call your representatives, anything at all. Thank you so much for having me, and may the spirit of liberty and the pursuit of truth guide you. Have a great convention.